Yo, what's happening, people? Can you hear me okay? I sure hope so, because I'm not speaking any louder. You can indeed. Is it the ratio with the music still okay? I haven't tweaked it since last time. We got Multi, we got Mens, we got Smash, we got Zorkat. Who else we got? Atwolf is already in here. R Primus, who seems to always be logged in. Arroway's turned up as well. Wow. All the names. And who we got there? I need to get in close to this name. Ollie. Is it Ollie? Hugh? We'll go with Ollie. Thanks for coming, Ollie. Sysop's in as well. Fantastic to see you all again. It's been a few days. It's been 3 or 4 days since the last time. But anyway, we won't dawdle on ceremony. Let's get stuck in to our chocolate. 90%. Back on the lint. I had a break for a few days. I was being a good boy, but given I've been a good boy, I'm going to reward myself. What are you guys eating? Do you have anything on the table rearing to go? Or is it just me that's smashing the chocolate? Chocolate is life. I agree, Multi. So chocolate is life, and as we all know, hacking without tea is very uncivilized, so we have our Gaiakura ready to go as well. 85% is good. I think 70 is just a little bit too sugary. Cookies and gin. How very British of you. For a different time of day, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I would go for. So, I smashed a Magnum, dominating. Mongo's in too. The chocolate review. What I like about the chocolate review is you get everyone else chiming in with their views as to which chocolate they should have. Hey, B-Man. It's a party. Know how to party, man. I know how to party. I've showered and I'm ready for bed. I've got my grumpy old man pajama pants on. As soon as I'm done here, I'm crashing out. So I hit with a green tea, my chocolate, and I look like an old man. That right there is how you party, for sure. Okay, anyway, let's move on, shall we? Part 16 we're up to. Can you believe it? Yes, Smash, I do have pants on. Don't make me stand up to prove it. You guys are great. Was I saying? Yeah, we're up to part 16. Hey, Peleus is here too. Yeah, it does feel like, right? There was one extra stream along the way where we interviewed the legendary Scape, remember? But 16 parts. There's going to be quite a few, I think, by the time we're done as well. So, right. So, I'm going to assume again that all of you folks will ask me questions about current and previous streams along the way if there's anything in them that doesn't make sense or that you want clarification as to why I am doing what I'm doing. That's what the stream is for. It's pretty interactive. Although the last couple of streams you guys have been scarily quiet except for when you're trolling each other. So please make the most of the opportunity if we can. That would be great. So you probably remember from last stream, we ended up with a few to-dos, and it didn't really sit well with me by the end. I thought I don't really want to leave to-dos scattered all over the place. And one of the big to-dos was the references around Invoke. Now, as I've made very clear in a number of occasions, not just on stream, but on the twits and things like that, P-Invoke is one of those things that really does stand out like the proverbials, and it's not a good thing to use if you've got better options. Now, a lot of what goes on in Windows land is covered in the .NET framework, but unfortunately there are cases where we want some specific implementation detail that we might actually only be able to get through a direct Win32 API function call. So at the end of last stream, we had a bunch of to-dos, and many of them revolved around what to do as compared to p-invoking. So there is no doubt along the way that there are going to be a number of cases where we're going to have to p-invoke. And for those who don't know what p-invoke means, p-invoke is short for platform invoke, and that is basically the wording around invoking native functions in DLLs directly from C#. So what I would like to do is put together something where, if we do need to p-invoke, we can do it fairly easily, but not actually have it compiled into the binary so that it's easy to scan statically. What I'd like to be able to do is on the fly generate a .NET type that has the p-invoke related stuff in it, invoke that function on that type, and get our result out and then destroy it so that it's not actually sitting in memory. So good evening to you, Barney. How you going? I was a sailor, so I've kept my beard. What's my excuse? So this is a good 4 or 5 days, This is the closest I'll ever get to having a beard. I'm still very, very patchy despite being 40. Anyway, I hope you have your tea. I hope you have your chocolate and your brains and all that sort of stuff. That's a great question, Smash. My volume's a bit low, really? According to the rest of the crew, the volumes are good. Is anyone else having issues with volumes? Maybe you can just crank yours up a bit, Barney. Okay, so as far as I'm aware, Smash, I haven't seen anything that instruments this kind of stuff. Doesn't mean it's not out there, but I think realistically, if there's a small window of opportunity for this to be captured, it's better than having it permanently there ready to be captured. So my plan is to create it, use it, and destroy it like that. Turn it around like that. That's basically what my plan is. Music is soft, voice is good. I've had some people say that the music volume is okay. Some of the songs do get a little bit loud, so I think I'm going to leave it there as a slight just sort of background noise so that I'm quiet. You can actually hear it. Hey Gombos, how you going, man? Yeah, so that's my plan. So my rationale is to produce an assembly that has no references to p-invoke at all in the actual code, so that when the IL is parsed, it doesn't go, hey, there's p-invoking stuff going on in here. But at least at runtime, if p-invoke is happening, it's the types that have the p-invoke wrapped in them are there for a very small period of time. So that's the key. What's worse for being obvious, p-invoke or WMI? I don't know, Atwolf. I wish I knew the answer to that. But what we're going to do is try to only have judicious use of both of those things. So we're going to get to a point where regardless of what happens, we'll probably need to use it. And when that happens, so be it, right? If we don't have another option, then there's pretty much nothing that we can do about it. So it's better to have the feature than it is not to have the feature at all. But at the same time, this is open source, so if people don't want to have that stuff baked into their payloads, they can rip it out and do stuff themselves. Later on, we're going to have some more discussion around what we're going to do with things like binary signing. So I think what people should be doing is building their own binaries, and one of the things they can do with the CLR Meterpreter that they can't do with other things, at least at the moment, is generate their own strong name key and add references to their own types, so that you can't mix and match Meterpreter sort of payloads, so to speak. So if someone decides to put a rogue DLL in somewhere, then that signing capability will prevent it from sort of hijacking. But we'll come to that down the track. I kind of like Empires. This is not OPSEC safe style of doing things. Yeah, I like that too. I like that idea, but I mean, Meterpreter at this particular point doesn't have the notion of what's OPSEC safe or not. And the question of OPSEC safe is actually kind of subjective. So, I mean, usually Empire's OPSEC safe refers to leaving things on disk more than anything else. I mean, you can argue that, you know, Mimikatz is an OPSEC safe, but it isn't marked as not OPSEC safe. You know, if you're on a system with EDR or AV and you dump LSAS in a typical way using Mimikatz, then chances are that's going to get caught. I'm pretty sure it's not marked as OPSEC safe though. So yeah. I mean, fully depends. Why would pinvoke in general be noticeable? Because I mean, it's just in the metadata of the binary. That's all. It's something that can be scanned for fairly easily. And at that point you go, well, if it's shelling out to native DLLs, then, you know, maybe that's something worth looking into. That's effectively where I'm going with that. But as far as what you're saying, I mean, it fully depends on which APIs you're calling. No, pinvoke by itself is fine. I would argue that pinvoke by itself is suspicious regardless of what APIs you're calling. And so this is just an upfront effort to abstract that a little bit so that references to its use are not present at compile time, or I should say at, you know, static analysis time. That's basically the way I see it. It may not necessarily make a huge difference or any difference, but I think it's worth doing. But you see, I mean, we're going to be generating dynamic assemblies, and it's easy to argue that a set dynamic assembly generation could well be a smell. A large amount of .NET apps using pinvoke in some form. Yeah, but, you know, yeah, that is true. But it also depends on what the app does. And given that Meterpreter would probably pinvoke a fairly interesting array of things, it'd be good to sort of hide this away. I did too. Now, but to be fair, we won't, create remote thread is definitely fishy. So look, I'm not going to lie. I've done a lot of pinvoking in the past, but there is less and less need to pinvoke as time goes by because more and more of this functionality is wrapped up in the API, in the .NET framework itself. So over time, we may also remove references to pinvoke as those libraries become more and more rich. A little bit sore after doing this strength training routine thing that OzJock put together for me. Is that like pee on a spoke? Nope, nothing like that whatsoever, just so you know. Alright, enough of my face. Let's open VMware. Okay, where are we at? So, the first thing that I had as a to-do, which we've now had, show us your guns. I don't have guns. Maybe if you're still here at the end of stream, I'll show you my guns. 2 tickets to the gun show. So right in the early days of the stream, we had this hard-coded core machine ID implementation where the serial number functionality that we wanted to implement, because it was something that we needed to pinvoke, we just hard-coded the serial number. So what I like to do first up is go back and fix this, and fix it in such a way that hopefully we'll be able to do some sort of abstraction around how things can be pinvoked. But what I'm going to do is walk us through the process of what that pinvoke would actually look like to begin with. Anyway, so if we just quickly go back to the original machine ID implementation, you can see that it's doing three things. It's getting the system directory, it's getting the volume information of the system, that basically the hard drive that the system directory resides on, so like C drive. And then it's getting the computer name, and you'll see that it's mashing them all together in a, 4-digit dash 4-digit, 4 hex digit, followed by a machine name. So 4-4 colon machine name, and that's the machine ID, which at the MSF end actually gets MD5'd. So these are the things that we need to do. Now, a couple of them are really simple. So getting the computer name is a no-brainer. As we can see, we're already doing that. That's the machine name. Getting the system directory is actually pretty easy as well. So we can go var systir equals environment.system directory. Now the set that will include like the full path, probably includes Windeer as well, right? Or maybe even Windeer System 32. So what we're looking for here, if we look at this implementation, we can see that it's basically terminating immediately, null terminating the value immediately after the very first backslash. So we only want the first 3 characters, right? With getting the version last stream, the specific reason for not using the C library. Yeah, the reason for that was because we were trying to avoid p invoking. So we may go back and revisit that once we've got this stuff in place. Okay. So, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. So once we've got the system directory, we only really want the first 3 characters, right? So let's get a substring of that, start index and length. So we want to start at 0 and we want 3 characters. So that should give us, for example, C drive. So we've got the system directory, we've got the machine name. What we want to do from this point on is pinvoke. Now what I'll do is I'll just run this. Let me just save and build. I'm going to run this because I just want to see that this system directory actually comes out as expected. So sysdr, there you go, is C drive. Put it in here so we can see C drive. Okay, so that's definitely got the drive. So from here we want to be able to call the function that's listed here, get volume information. Okay, so if we look at get volume information, we can see that it's quite a complex one. Get volume information, so we get root path, volume name, buffer, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we want to be able to call this natively, all right? Hey, Killix. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to go get volume information and type pinvoke, and this will probably give us a reference to pinvoke.net because that's the website that has all of the things pinvoke and how to define a signature for that function. So here we can see this. This is what the C# signature of this function looks like. Now, in order to pinvoke directly, without using any smarts or dynamics, this is what it needs to look like. Actually, let's not do that for now. Let's do using, and that should fix a bunch of stuff. Using system.txt. What is file system feature? Okay, so there's a flags enumeration sitting here. So we can put this in here as well, just for the sake of coverage. Now I will get rid of a lot of this noise. I'm just trying to show you what this might look like. Now, if we were to invoke this directly with pinvoke now, we could call, well, let's see. Let's have a look at an example in here so you can see this is effectively what it is that we're looking to do. So we need a couple of string builders, or if we can reference null in those string builders, because we actually don't want what those things contain. So maybe we can just pass null in, but I'm guessing not. So we might just need to create them anyway. And as you can see, we can pass it in pretty much like this. Okay, let's just do all the things based on this example. And you can see here this get volume information is referenced directly because of the way this DLL import is configured, right? So this attribute here says we are importing this DLL with a couple of other bits and pieces that we'll get into later on. And this is what the function definition looks like. So get volume information is part of kernel 32 and it looks like this. So then at runtime, hopefully when we invoke that, I'm actually not going to, I'll leave it as, leave it like that for now. All right, let's build and we'll just see how it runs. Hopefully it'll come out exactly as we would expect. Okay, we'll just step over that. Did it work? Yes, it did. Okay, so volume name is blank. NTFS is the file system type by the looks. And we've got flags. Don't even know what this is. Clearly it's incorrect because we don't have all of the flags listed. And the value that's come out of it inside these flags is not listed as a set of enumeration values. So maybe that is incorrect. At this point, we don't really care. And I'll probably change this file system feature thing to, instead of using an enumeration, we'll just use a uint directly. And for now, we're not really fussed about what those flags are going to be. But what we are interested in is the serial number. Okay. Now the serial number we're going to be generating is going to look something along the lines of string.format. Now let's just quickly look at our other implementation again. So you see we're getting high word and low word. Now I don't know whether you're familiar with the high word and low word macros. So let's see here. So you can see here, this retrieves the low order word from the specified value. It's actually a macro defined somewhere. So you can see define low word just casts the D word to a word. The high word does effectively the same, but it bit shifts. Simple as that. So we need to do something effectively similar to that. Okay. So we're going to have the first parameter is going to be a 4-digit hex number, followed by another 4-digit hex number, and then we're going to have the the machine name in it. So first thing that we need is, what is it? I'm actually going to change this to this. So where was it? High word was first, right? Mapping media after your augers. I'll let you guys carry on your conversation. So the first thing is the high word of this serial number. Now I'm going to get rid of all of these things. Actually, I don't know why that's marked as 261. It's probably something to do with the full path. Let's clean this up just a little bit. Serial number. Max length. Can't type. I'm going to just have another uint for flags. So we'll call that flags. And we're going to get rid of all of this nonsense here. Out. That's going to be a uint as well. Okay. So that's going to be serial number. That's going to be max len. And from there we should, max length. That should be good. And this volume information needs to be changed to sys. It shouldn't even be sysdir. We should go sys drive is what it actually is. I'm going to ignore the error because I'm a bad boy. We don't care about volume names or anything like that. We just want the high word of the serial number. So that'll be serial number bit shifted 16. Right, and then cast to a U short. Okay, because we're only interested in the 16 bytes. Okay, so that's the high word. The low word of that is literally a U short of serial number. Okay, because we're just going to truncate that top 16 bits straight off. And then the last thing we're going to give it is the machine name, which is environment.machineName. And that should be our machine ID. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Oops. Need to build it first, otherwise it doesn't work. There we go, because we need our build events to happen. All right, so let's have a look now. Our machine ID looks like this. Oh, what have I done wrong? See how we've got X's in there? Clearly I've done something wrong here. It's done at least most of what I would expect. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's interesting that I've got 0 padding to at least 4 bytes when it's coming out. Sorry, 4 digits when it's coming out as 5. But anyway, what I need to do is hexify this nonsense, and I think that's the reason why it's broken. So let me just quickly confirm that I'm doing the right thing with our format string. Smash, you might be able to remember this off the top of your head. Format string hex. C#. So yeah, X is definitely a thing, but clearly I'm doing it wrong because... comma alignment. There you go. So I'm doing the Python thing when I should be doing the .NET thing. We got another... Oh, Justin Stephen has just come in. Justin's in the house. The Ginger Ninja is here, people. Call off the search. Here he is, the big man himself. Good to see you, Justin. That's what I needed to do. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, is that better? There we go. Now the question is, do we want uppercase or do we want lowercase hexadecimal? What are we doing in our existing implementation? Lowercase. I think that's what that does. Anyway, that effectively gives us the machine ID that we're looking for, and everyone wins. Okay, so that's one way we do it, and as you can see, that's how we do the P invoking. Problem is, that's not what we want, because I actually don't want this stuff compiled in statically. Okay, so what I actually want to do is define this, like I want to do it on the fly at runtime using dynamic assembly generation. But more importantly, I want to do that because this command handler right now will have this baked in as part of its type, and I really don't want that. Okay. So what I do want instead is the ability to invoke this function on the fly and generate some code that will do it for us. Okay. So that means, let's pretend I had private, we'll go void. How about I just copy this? Because I'm going to comment this out anyway. We're going to do this. Oops, not public. Private. Static bool get volume information. Okay, I'm going to define this myself on the fly. I'm going to get rid of bool because I don't care about the result at this point. I'm just going to go void. Okay. So get volume information, which for some reason is cause its parameter volume must be assigned before control leaves the current method. Yep. Whatever. So this is basically what it is that I want to have happen, right? Vim bindings and VS. Yes, definitely that sysop. Can't do without Vims. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a new type on the fly. In order to do that, I need a new assembly. So I need a dynamic assembly. Now I can create a new assembly on the fly and I can load it into the current app domain. But I don't really want to do that because once I've defined that type and I've loaded it on the fly, I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be able to unload that without unloading the whole app domain. So what I do want to do is reference this in a separate app domain. But I'm not going to do that yet. To begin with, we're just going to work within the current app domain, and then once we've got that working, we'll move it over to a different app domain. Okay. So to start with, we need an assembly name. And so that's just going to be a new assembly name. Oops. That's part of the reflection namespace. And the assembly name can be pretty much anything random. What we'll probably do is have some kind of random assembly generation, like some name that behind the scenes spits it out with random crap so that we don't have to know about it. And we don't want it fingerprintable anyway, right? So once we've got that, we need to create an assembly on the fly based on that assembly name. So we can go assembly equals. So we'll go app domain.current domain. So we're going to work within the current app domain. We're going to go define dynamic assembly. The first thing we need to give it is the assembly name that we've just created. So let's go assembly name. Now from here, we need to give it assembly builder access flags. Now I can never remember what we need to do. I think it's just run. We don't need to be able to save anything on disk. What does that say? It represents dynamics can be executed and saved. No, we just want to be able to execute it. Executed but not saved. That's ideal. And I think that should be enough. That at least gives us an assembly that we can work with, right? Now, for those people who don't know, in a .NET assembly, you have to have at least one module, right? The module, you can actually have multiple modules, but we're just going to have one for the sake of this. Okay, so that's one thing you can't do with the standard PEs, have multiple modules inside one assembly, but you can with .NET. Ironically, though, you can't actually do it directly by building .NET assemblies out of Visual Studio. So Visual Studio will create an assembly with one app domain and one module in it. But you have to actually add, you can't add modules, I think, at compile time using Visual Studio. I think you can do it on the command line, but you can't do it using Visual Studio projects. So more tea, more chocolate, lots of talking. Anyone have any questions so far? Any questions so far? Thank you for the follow, Berlin Spirit and Whateverland. Much appreciated. No questions. I will move on. You have a question. Is it related to what we're doing, Barney? If so, you may answer. Sorry, you may ask. When are you coming to the snow? That's a great question. I'll answer that off stream. All right, moving on. Now, when we define an assembly name, sorry, a dynamic assembly, we're not actually producing an assembly. We're producing an assembly builder. So I should call that an assembly builder. Okay. So we've got the ability to build an assembly. Now, using this assembly builder, we need to create a module. So, and that module works in the same way, like you effectively define something that's going to allow you to build a module on the fly. So we'll call this module builder equals assembly builder dot define dynamic module. Now you can give this a name, you can give it a bunch of other bits and pieces, but we only really care about the name. So that can pretty much be anything. I don't think it's relevant that it matches the assembly name. At the end of the day, I guess it doesn't matter. But we need to have that module because that's where we're going to start wiring types into our system. So we want to go var type builder. So we're creating a new type inside the module. What is this function called again? Is it define something? Define type. Here we go. Define type. We can give it a name. Again, not really fussed. Okay, you can just give it a straight type like that. But obviously, later on, if you want to invoke this via reflection, which is what we're going to have to do, we need to know what that is. Well, actually, do we? No, actually, I don't think we do. When we invoke As long as we've still got a reference to the type that we've created, we actually don't need to worry about this. So again, this can be something completely crap. Okay. Party at Barney's place every night. Now, actually, here's an interesting thing. So assembly names are clonable, serializable, etc. Are they disposable? No, they're not. So if we went assembly name.dispose, not there. Assembly builder.dispose is not there. Module builder .dispose, not there. Type builder.dispose, not there as well. So all of these things do not implement iDisposable, so we don't have to worry about wrapping them in using calls. Okay. All right. So we've created it. We've got a type, but we should we need to give it some more attributes. We need to make it public so that we can reference it. Type attributes. We're going to have to make it a class because we need to be able to add these DLL import related bits and pieces, I believe, to I don't even know whether we need to actually refer to this as a class type because we're just going to be referencing static. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the class type at this point, and we'll see if it doesn't work, and we'll add the class type back on if it doesn't. I actually don't think that we're going to need to use it. Now, to begin with, I don't think we need to set any magic properties on this. I guess maybe we should specify char_set.auto and set last error by default. So we're going to have to add this on the fly. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go. Where are we? Is this what I want to do? Let's ignore it for now. Actually, no, I am going to have to do it. Let's go DLL import equals so DLL import attribute is the attribute that we're looking to wrap up, remember? So it's this thing here. So I don't know whether you've noticed, but if you have DLL import, that's the same as saying DLL import attribute. There's just some magic behind the scenes that lets you specify or not have to specify the word attribute at the end. Okay, but the actual class name is DLL import attribute. So what we want to do is be able to create a reference to the constructor of this attribute because we want to be able to call this with kernel32.dll, right? So if we go type of dot, is it dot constructor or get constructor? And we give it a list of types. So we want the constructor, which gives us the string. So this is giving us a reference to the constructor that takes a single string. Okay. And then once we've got that, we should probably call this DL import constructor. And once we've got the constructor, we want to build the attribute on the fly, passing in the expected value, so kernel32.dll. So we want to go var DLL import instance equals DLL import, DLL import constructor dot no. What is it? It's a new hey Rick builder. Okay, and we give it constructor info. So that should be a constructor info instance. So we give it the constructor. And then we have to give it the arguments. So we go new object, and here we're just going to give it kernel32.dll, right? So here you can see we've got a reference to the constructor via reflection, and here we're creating, oh hang on, it's not an instance, it's a builder. Yet again, we're referencing a builder. So we're saying we want to be able to construct an attribute, a custom attribute of DLL import type based on this constructor with these parameters, okay? So once we've got the builder, we can then basically say, right, let's go and create this new pinvoke method on the type that we're creating, okay? So that means we get our type builder and we go define pinvoke method, okay? Now the pinvoke method is the one that we're trying to invoke. So this is get volume information, right? We've got another follower, Curinsta. Thank you for the follow. Very kind of you. So get volume information is the first thing. Now the DLL name, we can just pass in kernel32.dll again. Method attributes. What is this method? It's going to be probably public. Public and static. I don't think there's anything else. Do we need to give it pinvoke import? I don't think we do. Yeah, I don't think we need to. Let's just put a possible method attributes dot pinvoke import. Let's just leave that there. We may need to use that. Calling convention. So this is going to be calling convention dot. Well, I would assume it's going to be WinAPI. That would make sense to me. Now the return type here, according to what was pinvoked up here, it's Boolean. And if we look at again the actual implementation here, we see it's bool. So that's what we should probably mark it as. Type of bool. Parameter types. Okay, so that's going to be this full list of stuff. I may chuck this in a new, what is it expecting? Object? Okay, new type. So we're going to give it an array of types. We'll come back to that when we're done. Native calling convention. I wonder what the difference between calling convention and native. Maybe we need to sort of just say this is a standard function. I don't know. This call. I'm going to leave them both as WinAPI. See what happens. What do we got next? Charset. Charset.auto. Based on what we saw up there. And then I've missed something, haven't I? Hang on, we've got parameter types. I've missed something, haven't I? Calling conventions. Oh, is that supposed to be an array? I got the wrong thing. Okay, here we go. Any explicit this has this. I'm going to go standard. That makes a bit more sense. Yep. Thanks, Smash. That That's seriously fucking terrible, isn't it, hey? Calling convention and calling conventions. Well, actually, I don't need to pick one of those two based on this because I believe that when we say char set auto, it'll figure it out for us. Now, I guess what I might do down the track when we abstract this into something that's going to help, maybe we will force it to use wide string. But the problem is that there are some API calls that don't have wide string implementations. So, for example, get proc address doesn't. So yeah, I'm not sure. Let's get it working and we'll come back to it. But we'll certainly bear that in mind, Mongo. Char set auto, and that was it, right? Yep. Okay. Oops. Okay, so that defines the pinvoke method. Now that will return a method builder. So we'll go var method builder equals that. Pardon me. So I'd be surprised if it automatically picked AOW. Ooh. Let's not forget though what we did here, right? Get volume information. We didn't go get volume information A, but it resolved this name as if we had just passed that in, right? So usually you have to specify get volume information A or whatever. So I'm thinking that char set auto is what did it for us. But yeah, who knows? We'll see. But as we saw before, this worked without the use of A or W in this. So let's see what happens. Let us see what happens. Now, we do need to define our type array. Now, first of all, we need type of string. So I'm just going through this list here, right? Type of string, type of string builder, type of int, type of, now this is where it gets fun. So type of uint, but you should be able to go make by ref type. See that? So that actually creates a new type that says that we want the reference type of those things. Now we actually need that 3 times. And I'm going to do the copy and paste thing, even though I highly disagree with that. Remember, this is just so that we can get it working. We're going to abstract this detail down the track. So make all the by ref types. Then we're going to have type of string builder again. And then finally type of int. Okay. So that's us defining our pinvoke method on the fly, assuming that we're doing it correctly. And then once we've done that, what are we going to do? We're going to go method builder dot. Now we want to actually bind this attribute that we've created, right? So what do we do here? I think we go. There's got to be something about custom attributes in here. Here we go. Set custom attribute. So we can give it a bunch of stuff, including constructor info and whatnot. But instead, because we've got our DLL import builder ready to go, we can just pass that straight in. This is so ugly and messy. Yes, yes it is. Welcome to Reflection. Shout out to my good friend Joel Pobar, who was involved in the implementation of Reflection in the CLR back in the day. Super smart guy. He watches the recordings of the streams every now and then, so I'd love him to be watching this at some point and hear his own name and getting a little hat tip from me. Okay, so at this point, I am actually going to go pool. At this point, string builder's magic. I think there's custom magic behind the scenes that does it. Okay. Now, let's see if I'm a liar or not. Now that we actually have all of the stuff built, we want to go we'll call it I'm just going to call it type equals type builder dot create type. Okay, so now we actually have a type that wraps everything up. And in order to invoke a static member, because remember we're making it a static function, we should be able to go type dot get, is it get method? Get member, get method. Get method. Now we need to give it now we know there's only one method that we've defined here of this name, right? So get volume information. Right, get volume information is the method. We shouldn't necessarily have to give it anything else. Actually, and we should be able to invoke that method directly, right? So once we've got it, we want to invoke it with all of the things. Let's go new object. Should be able to take, like, I think invoke returns an object which we can cast back to bool, because that's what we've said we're going to get. Clearly we need to give it something more than, the first parameter we need to give it is the object that we want to invoke it on, but because it's a static method, we can just give it null. Right? What is it moaning about? So I think what we need to do here now is just give it root path name. I'm just going to fill out the parameters. Root path name, volume name buffer, volume name size, volume serial number, maximum component length, file system flags, file system name buffer, and end file system name size. Now, I'm guessing that the reason why this is crapping itself is because we're passing, here we go, must be assigned to, volume serial number must be assigned to before control leaves the current method. Okay, so I got to figure out how to solve this problem now. So volume serial, basically all of the out parameters we need to fix, right? So maybe what we need to do is we need to maybe do, we probably need to somehow set, well, one would assume, Mongo, that they're already invoked, right? i.e. they're already set. So maybe instead of out, we refer to them as ref. Is that going to fix anything? This is interesting. What's going to happen now? Use of unassigned local variable. Okay, so that's fine. So we can set that to 0, set this to 0, set this to 0. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, I think that's okay. I think. But let's see what happens. Now, if this works first go, I'll be amazed. There's going to be some nuances that we're going to have to fight against, without a doubt. So let's see what happens when we try and run this. Go. All right, so we create our assembly name. We create our assembly builder. Okay, the assembly has a random name. Our type builder is going to have type attributes public. And then we reference the constructor and the import builder for the custom attribute. Then we create a method. So the method builder looks like it's doing its thing. And then we set the attributes for the DLL import builder. Now this is where an exception is going to get thrown, I believe, if things aren't good. All right, so we've got a type. And then we call get method on that type and .invoke. So hopefully this isn't going to break. It broke. Let's have a look. Exception thrown by the target of invocation. Source array was not long enough. Check source index and length and the array's lower bounds. Okay, so that's probably because of me removing this. So remember how this was 261 before? 261. So let's do that again. See, these things happen for a reason, don't they? Hey. Okay, let's do that again. What I probably should do is not go get method.invoke, but I'm just going to let it go for now. All right, do all the things. Ooh. Well, let's have a look at what it's got. Serial number is 0. Woohoo! Max length 0. Flag 0. FS name. Oh, FS name worked. Volume name was blank, but FS name actually worked. Isn't that interesting? So serial number is coming out blank. Now, why is that the case? Let's have a quick gander. Maybe we need to read some documentation. Is anyone familiar with passing and reference parameters to said things? Oh, by the way, Mongo, clearly this worked without specifying A or W. Crazy, hey? Not specified as out param during invoke. Yeah, I think that probably is it. So how do we do that? Do we need to specify or use a different overload of invoke? Object parameters. I would argue what we need to maybe what we need to do. What do you guys reckon? There's going to be something. There's got to be something, hasn't there? Ideas? Magic. The out would have specified. Maybe there's something else that we can do on the method builder. Let's have a look. Dot. The thing is, like, we're defining the pinvoke method and we're giving it the by ref type. See here? Returns a type object that represents the current type when passed as a ref parameter. So I'm pretty sure that that's what we're doing. Hang on. Method builder dot. Let's see what we got. Define parameter. So what does this parameter attributes do? Ah, this is interesting. Maybe what we need to do. Thank you, Smash. Let me just take a copy of that link. pop it on stream so that we can all take a look. Parameter builder. So what do we got here? Let's see. Define parameter out. Main custom constructor invoke new initial balance. Okay, so we build a customer data type. Build customer data type, and we get the constructor and we invoke it with 3 values. And then once you've got that constructor info, oh, here we go. That actually creates an object instance. My member info. We've got what? What's going on, man? Somebody else is anonymously gifting subs again. Barney, are you doing the gifting thing? Someone's trolling me. Every time we get on stream, someone's gifting subs. Thank you, whoever you are, anonymous gifter. It's very kind of you. Anti-aware, thank you for the follow. It's very kind of you as well. Well, clearly it's love, but it would be lovely to know who that person is. Okay, so let's have a look. Pass me. So this here is calling add funds from pool, and add funds from pool is the thing that has the out parameter. Okay, so then that kind of implies that we need to go back to where we were. Maybe I just need to like pick, what is it, 0, 1, 2, 3. So define parameter, the index you would assume is return value. This method returns parameter that can be used to apply custom attributes. So parameter attributes dot out, and let's call this serial. Max len flags. Smash just got a sub, aren't you a lucky boy? And Angry Little Hamster, thank you for the follow. I'm going to need to increase that. Okay, so we don't need ref parameters anymore. We need out parameters again, which means we need to change ref to out. And we're back to this problem here. Parameter volume serial number must be assigned to before control leaves the current method. Okay, so var result equals. We'll leave it like that. How about we go I wonder if it's as simple as this, right? Volume name buff equals new. Can we do that? And that be smart enough for it to know? Or do we literally need to... The output parameter must be assigned to before control leaves the current method. Out of curiosity, doesn't the edit new object wish... Hang on. It doesn't edit the new object with the out parameters, does it? Might explain why the ref types seem to work but the value types didn't. That's true, it could be calling convention related. What did that actually show us here? Define type. Define method. It's interesting that type.getType system.double ampersand. Where is it? This is interesting, isn't it? So modify the array, assign the new object to a variable, and okay, so you're saying like instead of this is what I thought might have been the case. We gotta go like so, yeah. Invoke args. Is this what you mean, Smash? It'd be nice if we could do something like this. The coalesce operator's not going to work in that way, right? Well, we don't really want to check the value of args afterwards, do we? But clearly, like it's saying here that we need to... I'm doing something stupid. Hang on, let me just do this. We don't need volume name buffer. We need volume serial number. Can we not do that? The result of the expression is always false since the value type of it's uint. They're all uints. Of course they're all uints. So okay, so let's just set them to defaults. So we'll go volume serial number equals 0. Maximum component length is 0 and file system flags 0. See what happens now? What could go wrong, people? Okay. Define parameter. So each one of these returns a parameter builder, but we don't need to do anything because we don't really need to add custom attributes to it. So let's just see what happens. Serial number 0 again. Flags, FS names. So we know that it's being invoked. We know that it's being invoked appropriately. But these out parameters are definitely killing us. Okay. Define p-invoke method with out parameter. Must include define p-invoke method. Let's see what this looks like. Delegate parameter type by reference. Let's have a quick look. Call this method from my user inflection, both the return double result. Okay, so this could be in some ways relevant. Okay. Okay, so this person is defining a p-invoke method. Here I should create global functions. No, we don't care about that. Method info, get method exec. This is pretty filthy. I think they're actually defining a type on the fly that will wrap up a call of that function. Define p-invoke method name. So here you can see it's public static calling convention standard type of. There you go. So they're using make by ref type. Calling convention char set.ansy. So this is actually generating stuff on the fly. Eric, thank you for the resub, mate. Very kind. Right, okay, so here you go. They're calling activator.create instance. Which means that they get like a strong type. What have I got here, Mongo? Okay, let's see. Invoke. Ah, okay. That makes so much sense, boys and girls. Thank you, Mongo. Hang on, let me bring this into the virtual machine. Sorry, I click on it outside of my VM. So, this is what we need to do. So we invoke the method with the parameters, and then we return those values in that way. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. So let's take this. Where are we? This here, don't we? X var args equals that. And then we want to go result equals that. Pass in the args. Then we need to go volume serial number equals args 3. I'm just going to do a straight cast. Oops. U in args 3. Max component length equals U in args 4. And it's 0, 1, 2, 3. Yep. And then file system flags equals U in args 5. Return a result. Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, man, these tunes. Yeah, I'll definitely. I keep saying that I'm going to share the playlist. Once we're off stream, I'll guarantee I'll forget. So if I can delegate this to you, mens, ping me when the stream is off on Telegram or Signal and go, oi, get the tunes list together for me, and I will export it somehow from the location that I'm doing it from. Okay. Right, so this could be it. You feeling good? Volume serial number. There it is. That's what I'm talking about. Machine ID. Okay, nailed it. Boom. That's a winner. Nice job, folks. Collective effort. Love your work. Boom. Thank you, Mongo. Thank you, Smash. As always, very helpful stuff. Now, this is where the pain is going to come from. Actually, you know what we should do? I just want to check something here. Let's see what happens when I exclude that. So what I'd like to do is cut it back to the point where we can remove the stuff that we don't actually need. Okay, that works. Actually, what I should probably check is to make sure that that actually does what we're saying. Let's do that again. Machine ID. Yeah. I am going to have to run it again with the... Okay, so look at that. It is actually doing what I expected it to do. So we don't need these defined parameters in here. It kind of knows that by making ref types. So, OJ success. Yes, we need that. Maybe like this. Or, you know, Justin did a video. In fact, Justin, you need to dig up your YouTube video of that, you know, that little snippet of, you know, what goes on inside his head. Share that link in the chat if you have it handy, please, man, because that's still one of my favorite videos. This is I think it's from the very first stream I did, the Capcom driver exploit ownage thingamajiggy. Like, it would have been like 2 or 3 years ago now, and Justin shared a snippet of it in a rather amusing manner, which I found very, very funny. So for those of you who haven't seen it, you need to see it. Justin, I hope you're out there. There it is. Boom. Go and have a watch of that, people. It's pretty damn funny. I showed the guns. No, I didn't. Yeah, stop it. Have it bookmarked. Of course you do, Menz. That's your active desktop image, isn't it? All right, so have a look at this. Like, this is clearly a mess. So what we would like to be able to do is abstract this a little bit, because that's horrible. It's really horrible, and I'm not a fan. So what we need to do is we need to somehow find a way of wrapping this kind of functionality up into a helper, because I don't want to reproduce this for every single pinvoke function that we may reference, right? But I laughed so much when that was like, yeah, solid gold. So good. It's a good job. I love you guys. Far out. So I think it's going to be fairly easy to at least generalize this to a certain extent. But I don't know how we're going to make it really, really nice, particularly given that the reference types, like the out values, are going to be problematic for us. So there is going to be a little bit of a leaky abstraction. Yeah, mate, Barney, even you. Definitely you as well. So I think if we had a very simple interface that allowed you to pass value types in and just have a result come out, that would be pretty easy. But ref and out types are going to cause a problem for us. So we need to have some kind of abstraction that will allow us to say, these are the bits and pieces that we want. We have two choices. We can have a very simple kind of abstraction which will leak into the things that invoke it, or we can have basically hard-coded function types behind the scenes that do all this kind of magic for us in each individual case, which is pretty ugly, I'm not going to lie. So keen to hear your thoughts. Notice that we didn't actually need that class attribute, so I'm going to get rid of that. What do you guys want to do? What do you think? An annotation with method name, DLL name, and the parameter types. Yeah, it's kind of worth in some ways creating our own, but I'm not sure, because I don't really want to get into the point where we're doing analysis inside custom attributes to figure out what the function signature should look like and how things should behave, because that's bloody huge. Rocket League, now you're speaking my language. Now, actually, before we move on, there is one thing that we need to do, and that is, instead of current domain, I want to create a new app domain. So var app domain equals, can I just go new app domain? Don't think you can. I think you've got to go app domain.create. Create domain. Okay, so then here we don't want the current domain. We want app domain. Now, app domain is disposable. Oh, is it disposable? It's not disposable, but when we're done, before we return our result, I want to get rid of it. So where are we? Clear, create. Unload, is that what we're looking for? ID, get, execute assembly, create instance. How do we get rid of it again? Other challenge, what about structs? Yeah, structs actually, that's a very good point, Smash. Probably also only create one assembly and use that every time rather than doing it every time you pinvoke something. No, I actually want to create the assembly and load it into the app domain and then tear the app domain down. Oh yeah, of course it is. App domain dot unload. App domain. Thank you, Smash. That's what I want to do. So the reason why I want to do this, Mongo, is because if I create one app domain and then I load the type into that app domain, that type will remain memory resident until I unload the app domain. So that's why I actually want to put this in a separate app domain so that I can unload it, and then the actual pinvoke code completely goes away. That's kind of the whole purpose for doing this on the fly. A wrapper on app domain that is disposable. Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to do that. I think that would be nice. And just, it's very, very simple, isn't it? We'll see. I don't know whether, can you do like a very, the problem with putting a wrapper on that, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I'll come back to that, Smash. But what we need to do is make sure this actually works, because now we're actually doing this invoke. We're doing this invoke across app domains, right? So we've got to sort of invoke this across different app domains, hey? So that we can use, yeah, I would agree with that. On lines, hang on, where are we? Save all the cruft lines 41 to 45. This stuff. Making a wrapper and app domain. Yeah. I would agree with all of that. So I'm going to push all of this into a helper function. There's no doubt about that. Basically, what I want to do is get all of this stuff out away so that we can at least abstract that. Analysis engines, I say, creating your app domain dynamic modules all the time might be even more suspicious. Well, that depends. I mean, app domains are created and disposed all the time, particularly with plugin functionality, so I find that less suspicious. I like the idea of doing that more. Like if you have a look at how Mef works, Mef puts all of its extensions in different app domains, and I don't think that's a problem. I prefer the idea of not having the code memory resident than worrying about the construction and removal of app domains. And it's not uncommon for app domains to be spun up and destroyed purely because if an exception is thrown inside that app domain, then the app domain dies, but the process doesn't. No, I said MEF. M-E-F. Hang on a minute, I'll show you what I'm talking about. MEF. Managed Extensibility Framework. That's what I'm talking about. Justin, you jerk. Mongo, these are good questions. Please don't think that I'm dismissing your concerns, but I'm just rationalizing my my decision away effectively. I think part of the problem here is that I am speculating on what things would be more or less detectable, and I'm basing that on my own anecdotal experience, and that could be completely wrong. But I've seen app domains spun up and torn down all the time in various contexts, and I see that as less suspicious than having something in memory that we can scan and look at and see that it's actually a pinvoke type. So, but all of these concerns may be moot, but I think it's something that's worth investing a little bit of time into, at least. Please don't consider that as a patronizing stance either. Like I'm not pulling rank on you. I'm just saying that's my experience, and hence that's why I want to do it. That doesn't make me right. Please don't think that makes me right. I could put all this effort in and be completely wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong. So yeah, I'm concerned that I'm coming across as arrogant there, and I whether you were or you weren't, I'm just making that very clear that I don't think I'm pulling rank on anyone. I'm just looking back on the time that I've spent building .NET apps, and that's how I've seen it. And I'm sure there's a lot of .NET devs who are watching this that are thinking, you're full of shit, and that's fine. I know Smash has done a fair bit of .NET dev in the past as well. He may have similar experience, he might have very different experience, but I think regardless of which is the right way to go, I think exploring all of these options on stream is really important, because now we've got an archive example of how to pinvoke on the fly, and how to pinvoke using a different app domain, which we're going to test now. And so that will hopefully mean that if people come in down the track and they want to do things their own way, they still have documented examples on how to do this sort of stuff. So Anyway, let's just make sure that the cross app domain call works, because I'm pretty sure it's not going to. Because, whoops. Assembly name. Ooh, what happened here? Runtime, here we go. So why can't we do this? And there's up there. Aha, here we go. MS Callie version 2 is not marked as serializable. So this is interesting, isn't it? Because what we're doing here is we're trying to define a dynamic assembly in a different app domain. But the problem that we've got is, in doing so, we are serializing this assembly builder. Sorry, yeah. So we define a dynamic assembly, and so that gets created in another app domain. The problem is that we need to then return a reference to the assembly builder back to the current application domain. So what we may need to do in order to support this whole notion of creating app domains and stripping them away is doing all of this stuff in a separate app domain. And that adds another level of complexity. And the reason for that is because obviously these interfaces are going to get more and more complex depending on the types that you're passing in and out. Now, string builders, I think, are going to be serializable. They are serializable. That's a win. So in our case here, we're okay. And I think structs will be serializable because, you know, they're basically based on primitive types. So the problem that we've got, result equals, is wondering about the myriad of ways that wouldn't work. Yeah, so imaginary interface. Yeah. Can we come back to that just for a minute, Smash? I just want to focus on the app domain issue. We need to effectively do all of this stuff in the other app domain. And then the result of those things that come out need to be pulled back across those app domain calls. So we might be able to call Invoke across a different app domain. But we need to be able to get the values back out. So what we might need to be able to do is have an abstraction, like what Ash is kind of implying, where you basically say, right, I want to create an instance of a thing that will allow me to p-invoke some stuff. And then from there, invoke it, and it all happens in a separate app domain. And then once that's done, we have the ability to extract values out of the type in that app domain. But that would mean that we probably need to create some kind of class type on the fly that will have properties that map to the values that go in, the values that come out. And that might sort of give us a nicer way of interacting with stuff as compared to dealing with all of this shit as well. But that's going to probably result in a fair bit of work. So, I don't know. Let me think about that for a minute. In terms of getting the code unloaded, is it not enough to destroy the dynamic module? No need for the separate app domain. No, it's not, because once you've loaded the type, I mean, if you create a module in the current app domain, I don't think you can unload the module. Right, because once you call create the type, so we've got this module builder. Let's have a look. There's no create, there's create global functions. Completes the global function definitions and global data. You'll notice we're not actually calling like create behind the scenes on this thing, which makes me feel that it is doing its own thing. Module. There is no, I don't think there's a way of actually unloading or removing a module from an assembly. Like you kind of remember the modules in the assembly is loaded in the app domain. So the thing that you unload is the assembly, not the module. And in order to unload the assembly, you can't unload the assembly. You have to unload the app domain that the assembly's in. So I don't think we have a choice but to have a separate app domain. Yeah. Which is a bit pants. Pretty sure you can't unload an assembly. Just give me a second. Yeah, you can't unload an assembly, mate. Ha. Should have known that you were trolling me, Barney. You're going to generate random values for those names every time they run. Yes, that is the intent. So all of this nonsense here would be generated. I'm just bashing them out on the keyboard so that we can see them working. So hopefully it's clear. So the reason why this is failing, this define dynamic assembly is being invoked in a separate app domain. And this is then being returned. The value that comes out of define dynamic assembly, which is of type assembly builder, is being returned across app domain boundaries. And for anything that is to be passed across an app domain boundary, it has to be serializable. That is, it has to implement the iSerializable interface. And the assembly builder does not do that. So all of this stuff needs to happen behind the scenes. So what we're probably going to need to do is create a new type inside Metserve that is effectively like a pinvoke helper. And we are going to need to want to create like on the fly, we create one of these pinvoke helpers and we give it some metadata. We interact with it and say, right, I want to add a parameter. I want it to look like this. It's going to exist inside this this DLL. This is the type of the parameter that I want. It's going to be, in, it's going to be out, whatever. And pardon me. And then from there have the ability to, on the fly, even just using something as simple as object arrays, go and call the function in a separate app domain and serialize the values across the wire, and sort of abstract the idea of having an app domain kind of behind the scenes. So what we might do as part of our next exercise is take the code that we've got here, wrap it up in a helper, and then as we start implementing the features of this helper, we'll make sure that we handle the cases where things are going across app domain boundaries as you would expect them to be. Now, this stuff is all kind of specific to Win32 style functions, so there are some assumptions that I think we can make. We may need to adapt it on the fly. But I think this functionality does belong in Metserve, and with all of the plugins that make a reference to Metserve, can make use of this out of the box. So that's basically where I plan to go with it. Does that make sense? Has anyone learned anything from this? No, I have. I learn something pretty much every stream that we do. But hopefully you can see what it is that I had in my head with regards to generating things, types on the fly that we can use to pinvoke and then remove them. Obviously we haven't got to the point where we've removed them because we can't unload based on this app domain shenanigans. But that's the thing that I want to do next time. So never dynamically create a pinvoke before. Ah, sweet. Okay, so you learned something too. So that's a win smash. Yeah, it is pretty cool. Hey, so if we can do this. I mean, one other option is to just make some kind of hash behind the scenes that keeps track of this whole structure and reuse it. That's a perfectly viable option, assuming that we're happy for that code to remain memory resident. So, whatever. I think that it's worth abstracting this into a helper class that would make all of this stuff look a little bit better. That's my feeling anyway. So with that, it's 9:30. Rather than embarking on the task of wrapping this up in a separate class, I think I'm going to postpone that till Thursday, because that's going to take a little bit of time. It's certainly going to take more than half an hour. And so as a result, I think putting this on ice until then would make a lot of sense. So rock climbing videos. Hey, I'm actually going to be working on rock climbing videos very soon. So watch this space. Be putting that up on the Figure 4 channel. Any questions? Any comments? Any hate? Any death threats? Has everyone enjoyed their tea? My tea is empty. How many we got? We've still got 33 people. 33 people watching. That's fantastic. Loving it. Rock climbing stream as well. I think live streaming the rock climbing is going to be tricky, but I'm sure I can come up with something. Given it's 9:30 and the gym's closed and I'm at home in my pajamas, I can't do it now. But anyway, look, as always, I'm very grateful for everyone coming along and watching. Show us the guns. Yeah. Getting a little embarrassed. This is the kind of thing that will make Sean laugh as well. When he watches this after the fact, he's gonna go, "You want to see guns? I'll show you one of my guns." Yeah, you ready? There you go. There's my gun. No more guns. No more guns. What legit purpose? Okay. The only time that I have done anything that resembles a legit use of dynamic p-invoke is when you're trying to create effectively exactly what we're doing now, and that is helper functions to get people to be able to p-invoke on the fly. So it's more of a case of, maybe there's an API you're exposing or whatever it happens to be, and you don't know until runtime that those functions are going to be invoked. So... Shut up. No more. No more. You guys are hilarious. Mr. Charlie, thank you for the follow. Love your work. Do I have a carrying license for that? Well played, Gombos. That made me laugh. You guys are funny. Oh man, let's talk about veins another time. Stop talking about my physical attributes. We're here to talk about nerd stuff. Nerd stuff is way more interesting. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you everyone who watched and supported and commented and pasted helpful links, and much love to Justin for sharing that YouTube video. If you haven't watched that YouTube video, go watch it. It's very well played. Should have a picture of the gun and put it as a get system tattoo. I need to work on my emotes. I got to get a get system emote, a success emote, so that we can do the cheering thing at the end. That'll all be lots of fun. So look, if you're not in Discord already, jump on the Discord chat. There'll be a link to it in just a minute when I hit to the end of the stream. Pass my thanks to Menz. Thanks, Menz, for having it there. You're a legend. Thanks, Multi, Zorcat Mongo, Kilix, all of you people who are watching. I can't rattle off every name, but I am grateful for your attendance. And thanks again to the anonymous sub gifter who's throwing bloody subs all over the place. It's super nice of you to do so. So yeah, jump on the Discord if you haven't. Fire questions. There's channels in there for noob C# stuff. We're all there to learn. We're all there to have a yarn, and you're more than welcome to jump in and throw your commentary and questions all over the shop. That's what this is all about. So also, Menz, ping me after the fact and I'll try and get a playlist documented somewhere. So that's all good. But on that note, I'm signing off. Peace. Be good to each other. Ciao.